Number 1. Deputy found guilty of planting drugs on innocent citizens. Jackson County residents were shocked after they found out that a deputy in their community had been planting drugs on citizens. Deputy Zachary Wester was involved in planting drugs on citizens for years before being exposed. His usual prey were the citizens just headed to their homes or jobs. Wester would conduct a traffic stop for minor traffic violations and ask the citizens if he could search their car, which most citizens would allow. After all, which innocent person wouldn't do so in order to prove his innocence? However, they had no idea that Wester was trying to plant drugs on them. In a brief period of his career as Jackson County Sheriff's deputy, Wester arrested 33 people on the false charges of possession of controlled substances. As he continued destroying innocent lives, Wester's seniors at the office gave him compliments. One of his victims, Teresa Odom, was stopped for her brake lights dysfunction, but little did Odom know that she was in for wild accusations. After pulling Odom over, Wester approached her in a playful manner, asking if she had bombs or a rocket launcher in her truck. It was Wester's usual way to gain the suspect's trust, so they would be off guard when dealing with him. Wester then asked Odom to step out of the vehicle so he could search it. Knowing that she was innocent and that there was nothing to be worried about, Odom complied with the deputy. However, this turned out to be her biggest mistake. As Wester prepared to put his gloves on, his body cam recorded a small item in his left hand, which later turned out to be a small bag of methamphetamine. After placing the drugs on a spoon in the truck, Wester told Odom that he found meth in her vehicle. Shocked, as any innocent person would be, Odom immediately denied the deputy's claim. But there was nothing she could do now. Odom had fallen into Wester's trap.
Yogurt, sir.
I know. Okay.
It's yogurt.
How about this, though?
That is not mine. No, sir.
Okay.
Now, the white small plastic baggie that was in that spoon that the deputy just showed you on this video.
Odom was arrested on the charges of possession of illegal substances and was fighting her case when all eyes fell on Zachary Wester. As he kept arresting multiple people on the same charges, suspicion arose among the prosecutors. His seniors worried about Wester's conduct and asked the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE, to assist them in the investigation. Without letting Wester know, an investigation had been initiated into his conduct, which uncovered everything. After analyzing Wester's body cam footage of 1,300 minutes and conducting an investigation of 1,400 working hours, FDLE agents finally arrested him on felony charges of racketeering, official misconduct, fabricating evidence, possession of a controlled substance, and false imprisonment. Upon knowing what was happening, Wester put on his guard, but nothing was going to help him. His own body cam footage was enough to expose his wrongdoings. However, Wester had succeeded in destroying some of the evidence. When asked in court where was the remaining footage of his body cam, he denied knowing anything. But no matter what he did, Wester did not succeed in outrunning the hammer of justice. He was presented in court and was found guilty of all charges. Wester was sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison. When asked what was the motive behind Wester's intolerable actions, his seniors at the sheriff's office said that the 28-year-old officer was ambitious and wanted to make his way as quickly as possible to the narcotics division, and while doing so, he showed no regard and mercy for innocent citizens that he had sworn to protect. Tallahassee attorney Marie Maddox, who represented 27 victims of Wester's misconduct during the trial, expressed her happiness about the justice being served. What happened to the plaintiffs was tragic and should never have happened to anyone, Maddox said. You're supposed to be able to trust law enforcement, but this is the start to their recovery. It's something that they can look at and say, I successfully sued Zach Wester for what he did to me and was able to recover. In addition to Wester's going to jail, all 33 victims of Wester's actions have also reached a settlement with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office for the suffering they faced due to wrong accusations. However, the amount of their settlement was kept a secret from the general public. Giving her remarks on the negotiation process, Maddox said, it was a marathon. I was not hopeful when we went into mediation, but once we got into it and I saw the efforts they had been made to resolve this by the magistrate judges and the level of involvement that they had, I was optimistic. Without their help and skill, this case would not have been resolved. Although justice had been served, there is no denying that 33 people had lost jobs, reputations, and months of their lives while fighting wrong accusations. Zachary Wester's actions have once again raised the question about whether citizens can really trust law enforcement agencies, and it can prove to be a big hindrance in achieving peace. Thankfully, no victim faced a serious situation in this case. Number 2, Texas citizen shot dead by police. In the early morning of October 12, 2019 at 2:30 a.m., the Fort Worth Police Department received a welfare call from a neighbor.
The front doors have been open since 10 o'clock. I haven't seen anybody moving around. It's not normal for them to have both of the doors open this time of night.
Okay. You know if anyone is inside?
Well, I'm not sure. Both of the cars are there.
The caller, later identified as James Smith, claimed that the front door of his neighbor, Tatiana Jefferson, was open and that he was concerned about her safety. A team of cops quickly responded to the call. Tatiana Jefferson, who was playing video games with her nephew at the time, didn't know that a team of police officers are on their way to check on her. After arriving at the location, police officers started investigating the matter. As the flashlights went from one side to the other, Jefferson noticed that she and her nephew weren't alone at home. With countless scenarios going into her mind, she picked up her gun. Without feeling the need to give any warning, police officers roamed the front yard and backyard of the house with guns in their hands. Officer Aaron Dean, who was searching the backyard of Jefferson's house, pointed his flashlight at the window of a bedroom and noticed someone holding the gun. While warning Jefferson, Officer Dean said, "Put your hands up, show me your hands." However, he didn't give Jefferson any chance to react to the warning and fired at the window.
Put your hands up, show me your hands.
Within 2 to 3 fateful seconds, a human life was lost, just because a trained police officer didn't know how to warn someone. The incident caused anger throughout the public and was compared by many news outlets with the murder of Botham Jean in 2018, which I have covered in a separate video. Jefferson's 8-year-old nephew, Zion, who was presented at the place of the shooting and had seen his aunt being shot dead with his eyes, is left scarred for his whole life. Realizing his grave mistake, Officer Dean handed his resignation to the Fort Worth Police Department and got busy arranging an attorney for himself. However, the authorities didn't waste any time and issued Dean's arrest warrant. He was arrested and taken into custody at his attorney's office on October 14, 2019, 2 days after the incident. Fort Worth Mayor Betsy Price called the incident tragic, while the FWPD Chief Ed Kraus promised Jefferson's family that a complete and thorough investigation would be conducted into the matter. Dean's arrest warrant was mostly based on Jefferson's 8-year-old nephew, Zion's testimony, who said that he was playing video games with his aunt when they heard noises and saw lights coming from outside the window. When asked why their door was open, Zion said that they were making hamburgers, but they had burned them, so the door was open to let the smoke out. Further, Dean's own body cam footage was enough to speak on behalf of Jefferson, who was now dead. Even her neighbor, James Smith, who had initially called the police, expressed his anger and shock. No domestic violence, no arguing, nothing that they should have been concerned with, as far as them coming with guns drawn to my neighbor's house, Smith said. There wasn't any reason for a gunshot that I know of. Based on all the evidence and testimonies, Dean was indicted by a grand jury on a murder charge on December 20th, 2019. After Dean's trial went on for nearly 3 years, he was found guilty of manslaughter on December 15th, 2022. Following Dean's conviction, Jefferson's cousin, Cerise Fortson, gave a victim impact statement. "You saw fit to take her from this undeserving world, thinking her light would leave with her. That's what you thought," Fortson said. "But I want you to go to your cell, knowing that her light is only transferred." After his conviction, Dean was sentenced to 11 years and 10 months in prison and is serving his sentence at the Lon Evans Correction Center in Fort Worth. Your house is a place where we feel safest. But it turned out to be completely opposite in the case of Tatiana Jefferson's case. She was shot dead in her own house while playing video games with her nephew and enjoying quality time. Her death has left many to reconsider the role of the police in our society. If you want to expose more of these rogue cops, please subscribe to the channel.